Ray and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real. Reminiscing the Attitude Era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blue forever, we love it so much. Geek Blue, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blue, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? Let's rest up right. Geek Blue, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us every week, we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, what's happening, Raymond? Raymond, it's a good week. We're gonna get to it in a little bit, but
Good
you know
week.
what this is? You know what happened this week for the first time since December 2017?
I kind of do have an idea what happened, Kevin, but why don't you let the audience know?
It's the first time since then that a Star Wars anything came out and nobody was bitching about it online. People just accepted it for what it was.
Yep.
Even with Mandalorian Season 1, where we all loved it, but still, there were still people bitching about it online. So I didn't see anyone complain about Skeleton Crew.
Universal
they
praise.
just accepted that.
We'll get into it.
They just accepted it for what it is. We will get into it, but they just accepted it for what it is. And I think we're both on the same side as to what we think about it, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes, and it's basically what we thought it was going to be, which is a good thing. The other thing is Rogue One. I think that's one of the only things that Disney has come out with that has been praised. Mostly for... Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, give me a second. Technical difficulties again. Doesn't even make sense. Check.
Are you back?
Hold on a minute. Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I do not know what's going on here. Yeah, I just moved from my computer to my phone. That is weird.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is gonna be a fun show. It's already starting off great. Where were we?
You were talking about Rogue One being accepted.
Problem with going
pretty praised highly.
Right. The problem with going on YouTube is I cannot edit any of this out, so everybody's gonna hear it and see it. It's in the lexicon now. Rogue One universally praised. That's right. That's what I was getting to. The ending of Rogue One, everyone felt that nostalgia that they had when they were kids watching Star Wars. We have not felt that through a Disney project since Disney took over. Maybe you could say that from the first The Force Awakens a little bit. A lot of people had problems with the ending.
Carbon copy of A New Hope, so.
Right. And a lot of people did not like the ending of what they did to Han, and we're not going to get into all of that and how that took a turn from that point forward. But this show, we'll get into it in a few. But yeah, it was really, really good. We're going to start off this week though with a show and tell. So many geeky things that we could pull off from the shelf. We've been collecting shit for years and now we're whipping it out. So it's time to showcase all the money that we wasted well. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It's Geek Club Show and Tell. I'll go first.
Okay.
This one is going to be a blast from the past for you, Kevin, because you probably saw me buy this when we saw Raw. God, 25 years ago, maybe almost 25 years ago. Let's see if I can get it on the number one. I put it in a frame, but let's see if I can get it on here.
Nope.
It's-
You're all black.
This is because of the glare of the case. Well, technical difficulties all around today. Can we get this goddamn thing
Nope.
working? Nope.
I cannot see it. It's like watching
watch it.
porn in fucking 1998, trying to see the nipples through the fucking screen.
Why don't you go, and I'm going to try to take
Okay.
off my background.
Sounds good. I got two things for you. So I was at
Here
the
we go.
store, obviously picking up Absolute Superman #2, and I saw this fun little DC's Batman. Robin smells laid an egg, something, I don't know. It's all fucking
Oh, yeah.
but it's
The
a Christmas book. Yes.
issue. Yeah.
It's 8 stories. Sorry, they're all about 10 pages long, all based on classic Christmas stories. So like you have Joker who kills Robin in it, and then they do It's a Wonderful Life, where Joker says, "I must be dead. This can't be real. My subconscious must be playing a cruel joke on me if I'm imagining this Robin." And then he says something about how I'm being a wonderful life. It's a fun little book. It's a little kiddie, but I just saw it. It was like $10. Get me into the Christmas spirit. And
Nice.
since this is the first time we're actually on YouTube, I'm reusing. Probably did this last year, but the Die Hard
Yeah.
told me that you got me a few years ago. Actually, that was the year that God, that was a long time ago. But that was the year that it was 70 degrees on Christmas Day. Remember that?
Mhm.
It was 70
Mhm.
degrees on Christmas Day. That was fucking insane.
Yeah, and this year we're not that lucky. Well, now that I got my background off, I can actually show you what I did. When we used to go to wrestling back in the day when we were in high school, you probably saw me pick this up. And now you can actually see it. I framed it. The old school Austin middle finger, foam
Yep.
finger. I have framed it because I didn't want it to get any damage because it's foam. In the air could ruin it, but
More than
it's
likely,
in pretty good
that
shape considering
was
it's been in the
probably-
closet.
That was probably the same show that I got my Chris Jericho Y2J shirt at. More than likely,
Possibly.
probably around that time. It would be my guess.
Possibly.
Right after Jericho came in, we went to a Raw. Someone after that.
Yep.
So that could have been it.
We also let's see. I got the Rocks glasses, the
Yep. So did I.
replica glasses.
Yep.
I got a Dead Man 2000 Undertaker hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of merch back then. That was awesome.
Yep.
Those were the days. So let's get into the show. Let's get into what we watched this week. You watched a big finale, and I've been hearing nothing but praise on the internet
Oh my
for
god.
it. One of the best Superman things ever. You watched Superman and Lois.
Oh my god.
And you watched the finale of this show that you've been
All the
invested in
feels.
for.
Yes.
When did you start? When did you start
I
to
watched-
watch? Was it this year?
No, it was fucking it was last winter. It was after Smallville.
This when you
season
started
3
to
went
watch.
on to HBO. Was when season 3 went on to HBO. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Because remember I did Smallville. Actually, I did the first 2 seasons of Superman and Lois,
Okay.
then Smallville, then Green Arrow, and then I finished like the last. I think I watched like 1.5 seasons, and then went back and finished up season 2 and watched season 3 when those were all on Max. But yeah, this show ended brilliantly. It kind of went the way I thought it would, where like the first half was going to be the fight with Doomsday and
Yep.
Lex. I think one of my favorite things is so the boys help him knock out Doomsday pretty much, and Superman basically is like, act fly him to the sun. The sun's just going to have the exact opposite reaction it has on him that it has on me. Blah blah. He won't get stronger. So he flies up to the sun, and as he approaches there, Doomsday's eyes open. You're just like, oh shit, they're going to fight in space now. And Superman kind of pauses. And he steps back like he's about to punch him into the sun, and Doomsday does the Kevin Costner Man of Steel, like, hold on, and like it zooms in on his eyes, and all of a sudden he remembers back before he was Doomsday. And so instead of Superman punching him, like, goes through his little montage, which is kind of cool, and Superman just kind of gives him like a little push, and Doomsday kind of like floats back into the sun. And after the fight, Superman is he's beaten to hell, and he starts healing, so he's like kind of like taking in the sun's rays. And at that point, Lex goes after his family, so he hears Jonathan say, "I can't breathe, help me." And so he goes back to Earth. The fight with Lex takes place. Lex is in the suit. Lex tries to kill Lois a few times. He tries to kill both sons. Superman, of course, saves the day when they're fighting up in the sky, and he literally punches Lex out of the suit.
I saw that picture. I saw that picture. Yeah.
Flies down and literally like grabs him as he's about to hit the ground, and like make sure he goes to prison
Awesome.
for the rest of his life. It shows Lex going into prison, and the position he had there has since been taken over by another one of Superman's rogues. I'm not going to say who because I do want you to watch the show. Okay. And the guard and the rogue comes out, and he's like, "Things have changed around here, Lex. You're not going to get the same treatment." So basically, his entire power has been stripped from him now that he's back in prison, and he's basically fucked. So then you go through, you see the wedding. Lana gets married, and he kind of does like a voiceover of what happens the last couple of years. Because as I told you earlier in the season, he was weekend, and he pretty much lives basically as long as a normal human lives at this time.
Okay.
Lois does pass away before him, like in this whole montage. It's great. And then he talks about how he gets a dog named Crypto. The boys come back as older characters, different actors. One of them is actually Lois's real-life husband, plays Jonathan, the older version of Jonathan. A lot of the cast and crews, family were kind of in these scenes as you see like all the grandkids around and all this stuff. Jonathan, they both went out and they got married, his kids. Very, very emotional. But then like as he passes away, he kind of like the kids are there, and he kind of like they do the thing where like the ghost comes up from the body and the kids are still like over the body.
Yeah, I saw the video of that.
And first thing he does is he goes into the kitchen, and Lex is sitting at the table. And with like this could have gone over so differently because obviously Lex died in prison. He went to prison for the rest of his life. So they're both kind of in heaven now, and Clark sits down and like grabs his arm, and Lex like looks at him, and they kind of like this whole like forgiveness takes place in heaven type deal. And then of course he meets up with Lois, and they're in heaven together, and fade to black. It was very emotional, and it also shows how a show that goes on too long, like Arrow, which had this pretty much mirrored Arrow's ending, where Oliver ends up in basically heaven with his wife from the show at the end of Arrow. But the thing is, this was so much more impactful because the show was still very strong. Whereas the last couple seasons of Arrow was like, so like Arrow ended and you're like, oh, thank God it's over. Where this ended and you're just like emotional and like I had tears in my eyes. It was excellent. Hopefully by the time you actually start the show, you forget a lot of what I told you about the season. And I did leave a lot of stuff out, so hopefully it feels new to you when you watch it.
The only thing I know is this.
Yep.
Is our picture for the podcast this week as well.
Yep.
And I know they did Steel. I don't know. I guess he's part of the show, which I had no idea.
He is. Yes. I never brought that up, but yeah, he's awesome.
And they decided to go CG in this shot. However, they were going to go practical, and I guess that's the actor who plays him.
Yep.
And they did make a whole practical suit, comic book accurate from the 90s. Yep. Not the Shaq Steel movie, but the actual comic book run.
He is the villain of the first season. He's awesome. I love him, and he has so many reasons as to why he's the villain, but he's not a bad guy. And he ends up obviously helping Superman. Phenomenal show from start to finish.
Excellent.
All the acting is great. Currently my favorite Lois Lane, which I mean it's not that hard right now. I mean Margot Kidder was incredible, but I mean she blows Amy Adams and what's her name? I can't even remember her name because she had no fucking chemistry with Superman from Superman Returns.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either.
Of course, Smallville Lois is always gonna have a place in my heart. Also,
she's good.
So, I mean, I love this version of Lois. She's great. This show's awesome, and I can't wait for you to watch it at some point.
I will, yeah. I will be doing that. One more thing before we get into the rest of what we're talking about. Have you heard or seen Madness on Netflix with Coleman Domingo?
Madness.
Have you heard about it? It's a new show. I keep hearing that it's amazing. Coleman Domingo.
He's the one that's having talks.
I can't remember.
He's having talks with
Yes.
Marvel right now, right? Okay.
He's been in
I have I've
Euphoria.
heard about it. Yes, I've heard about it because I think that's why he's talking about having talks with Marvel. Is he's probably doing press for the show.
Yep.
So I have heard of it. I've just not seen it.
It's been on my radar all week. I wanted to see if you have heard about it. The other thing is Arcane. I keep hearing that's great on Netflix.
Yeah.
And there's something else. Maybe it'll
my-
come to me. There's something
Yep.
else too. I can't remember.
My people in the Discord swear by Arcane. That's something I
Yep,
want to watch.
a lot of people are. A lot of people are
so, yeah.
praising the hell out of it. Yep. The other show, Secret Level, which I've been talking about for weeks, getting bashed in the reviews. The video game anthology series.
Yeah.
You had something on the notes. I saw you just added. You
I
want to
was-
talk about that? Cross
Yes.
on Prime.
I was going to do that. I think I watched it either last week or the week before, but we had kind of more of a packed show, and I just kind of forgot to put it in my notes. But I did binge this in like a day.
Okay.
Day and a half, 2 days. Over the course of 2 days, I watched the whole thing. It stars Aldous Hodge, who I absolutely love.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I never know this. He's the kid in Die Hard. He's Samuel L. Jackson's nephew in Die Hard 3.
No
The
shit.
one that skipped school.
No shit.
Yep, that's him. But he's like one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love the guy. He's awesome in Friday Night Lights. He was awesome in Black Adam.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Invisible Woman. He's incredible. He's just a good actor. What's that?
Black Adam, $4.99 on iTunes if you want to buy it. It's on sale today. I got it today because I had never owned Black Adam. It's a shitty movie, but it's
Just,
it's
a very
the
entertaining
Superman
movie. It's
scene
not a great.
alone.
It's not a great movie, but it's very entertaining.
Yes.
Let me know if there's good special features on it.
Okay.
back
There
it
are.
up.
There's loaded. It is loaded. I
Okay.
will.
Okay. But yeah, Cross was awesome from start to finish.
Awesome.
Very good. I know they approved season 2 before season 1 even aired, so they're already doing pre-prod on that. So hopefully we get it in a year and a half or so. But I do highly recommend it. It's a good cop drama. Gets pretty emotional at times. And Aldous Hodge, like I said, he just fucking kills every role he's ever been in. Really enjoyed it. Quick binge too. I think it was it only 8? I think it was like 8 episodes. And they're all very good from start to finish. Do recommend that.
Awesome. We watched Shrinking. Shrinking's a good show. Episode 9. I got about 4 episodes left. I'm not going to get into too much, or 3 episodes left.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into too much about it. But yeah, we know, we kind of know where this is ending, where it's going to go. He's going to have a confrontation with, another confrontation, kind of resolving
Yes.
the issues with Brett Goldstein's character.
Because last time he was basically like, "I forgive you, but get the fuck out of my life and don't ever come near
Yep.
me or my daughter again."
Yep.
Is essentially the first confrontation they had.
And Brett Goldstein, you can tell he's very depressed about the whole situation and very aloof and alone, lonely and a loner because of it. Lost his wife from it, or his girlfriend at the time. But yeah.
Yep.
Dune Prophecy, episode 3. Did you end up watching it and
I
going forward
did.
with the show? Okay.
It's
How you feeling?
boring as shit. It was very much like
And very
episode
boring.
2. It's a lot. Typically I'd like a show like this. It was cool though.
Right.
Robert Baratheon was in this episode. I don't think he was in episode 2.
I saw that. Yeah, he was in 3.
But he was in this episode. I was like, holy shit, this is Robert Baratheon. He's bald and fat
Yep.
now. But yeah, I mean, it's what it is. I'll probably just watch it just to get the whole story and see how I feel about it. But it was just whatever. It's fine.
Right, man. Yeah, I think what those movies did, they're just trying to milk the
Yeah.
franchise as much as they can. But I'm more interested in the movies, and I like the actors that they have in the movies more. And it's boring, very boring. I was bored by the second episode. So what we're here to talk about this week is Skeleton Crew, the brand new show on Disney Plus, Star Wars, coming back. Fresh new take, unrelated to unrelated to everything Star Wars in the past. Brand new series in a whole other part of the galaxy, and a whole part of the Star Wars lore that we have never seen. Star Wars Suburbia.
Yes.
And this is also made for a younger audience. We've mentioned it before. This is basically Goonies in the Star Wars world. These little kids.
This has to make George Lucas pretty happy because, of course, Star Wars has always been for kids. We typically forget that Star Wars has kind of always been for kids. He leaned hard into the kid aspect for Return of the Jedi. Obviously, the whole thing has been
Phantom.
funded by toy sales. the whole first trilogy. So
Right.
yeah, he's got to actually like this product.
That's why there's a droid and a Muppet in every single one of these
Yes.
shows, and has been from the very beginning.
Yep.
Speaking of droids, Nick Frost does the voice of the pirate droid on the spaceship that these kids find on this planet. This planet is a suburban planet set out somewhere in the galaxy, away from everything else. They're kind of like nobody goes in, nobody comes out of this planet. They find this starship on the planet, just buried in the woods somewhere. They go in and explore, and they wake up the ship. And the ship, they end up pushing a bunch of buttons, and the ship takes them off planet. And like I said, the planet is completely shut down. Nobody can go in, nobody can go out. But they all, I think it's like 4 kids, they all end up leaving the planet. One of the kids' father ends up witnessing them leaving. But once they get into space and they're trying to tell everybody where they live, no one knows what this planet is. It's like by the time you get to the second episode, you find out that the name that they're giving this planet is some sort of like a lost city or a lost planet in this case. That's supposed to be of riches and gold and all this. But like I said, Nick Frost is the voice of this pirate droid. So far, so good. You see Steve Urkel, Jaleel White as a
Yep.
space pirate. And you meet Jude Law's mystery pirate / Force user Jedi character at the end of the second episode.
Yes.
We don't know anything other than the 5 seconds we saw him. He used his Force powers to grab a set of keys, and that's basically all. And the kids one of the kids is obsessed with the Jedi Order, Jedi lifestyle. Thinks there's more in the galaxy to be, and he wants to be a fighter more than be this suburban life that they've been training this whole entire planet to be. He wants to actually do something in the galaxy. Overall, great show so far. Only 2 episodes in, and that airs every Tuesday. Another fantastic show. But we knew this. James Gunn coming back in great form for DC, and this is his official start to the DC universe. The DC Studios Creature Commandos. First 2 episodes aired on Thursday. Yesterday morning as we record. Great animation style. Humor is there, R-rated, so you get a little bit of sex, a little bit of violence, a little bit of blood, language here and there.
The fight scenes there were awesome. In both episodes, there were great fight scenes.
They're amazing. And this is well written from beginning to end, what we've seen so far. Think of this as a continuation of the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Both are canon in this that were brought up. If this in Peacemaker, it was outlawed that Amanda Waller could not use humans anymore for her Suicide Squad. So what does she do? She starts using monsters. Some of them are of lore, like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yep.
Some of them were created by DC, like G.I. Robot, like Dr. Phosphorus, and a few other ones. Weasel, who we saw in Suicide Squad. Episode 1 mentions Themyscira, whatever the hell it is, from Wonder Woman. Themyscira. Like I mentioned, Suicide Squad, Peacemaker are canon. You meet Rick Flag Sr., who is the father of Rick Flag Jr., who is Joel Kinnaman's character in Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad, both of those movies. Ends up being killed by Peacemaker in that movie. And you know that he's going to be not only in Superman, but he's also going to be a big part of Peacemaker Season 2.
Yep.
Which, when you see him in this, you cannot wait to see what his interaction is going to be with the man who killed his son. I cannot wait for that. So far, my favorite characters that I cannot wait for is just get their origin. G.I. Robot.
Yep.
I think he's great.
He's my favorite.
And Dr. Phosphorus.
Yep. Those are the 2 tops.
So episode 1, introduction to Rick Flag Sr. What were you going to say?
No, go on. I'll talk about my thoughts after this.
Okay. Episode 2, which I like what they're doing. Each episode is going to be focusing on the origin of a character. Episode 2 focuses on Dr. Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, played by David Harbour, and the Bride, who is the character in the Creature Commandos in the poster right there in the middle. And you get their origin of how they started way back in the 1700s, 1800s, something like that.
Yeah.
By the end of the episode, you get this amazing montage of the Bride and Frankenstein going through time and fighting. Because I don't want to get into the big, huge spoilers of it, but the story is awesome. What happens and why she's created and why Frankenstein is chasing her through time, trying to get her love. Very interesting, very cool. I know it's all comic book based, but it's also based off of that's mythology from Mary Shelley. So, what were you gonna say?
Well, first off, I like all the voice acting in this show.
Me too.
I think everyone's doing a very good job. The animation is peak. Now
Very
you
good.
have the princess in this, right? That we have
Yes.
not talked
Yep.
about, created for the show.
Yep.
That's who they're all there kind of to protect. And I had a thought, and I thought it was pretty original. And then I woke up today on Twitter, and everyone had that same thought. So I guess I should have put it out in the universe yesterday.
Yes,
and
always
that is-
don't hesitate. Always
Yes.
do that.
And that would be that she is actually Clayface.
Yeah, okay, that would make total sense.
Or that bodyguard guy that has the Russian-ish accent, who makes outdated references to American pop culture, could also be Clayface. And I say that
Okay.
because in the scene with Clayface in the preview, they're in that bedroom that Rick Flag hooks up with her in. And
Okay.
that's the scene where Clayface is smashing him all around the bedroom. So I figure it's one of those two characters could be Clayface.
Interesting.
I don't think Serkei is that whatever her name is.
Cersei.
I don't know if she's going to be the big bad of this, but I do think she will be in Superman. If you look at the first behind the scenes photo where he's lacing up his boots, and in the background you basically see the same color pattern that she has when she's fighting the
Interesting.
Bride. So those are just some thoughts. I'm theorizing right now. I'm not sure. But yeah,
I think Cersei may be my favorite character.
she's
Didn't know much about her.
Yep.
Like you mentioned, kind of the villain of this. She's the main villain in the Wonder Woman series. One of the main villains. Her and Cheetah, whatever her name was.
Yep.
She's an Amazonian witch. Ties to Greek mythology, 8th century BC. She was in the Homer's the Odyssey, way back in the BC era. And we got a preview for next week in this episode, and it's going to be G.I. Robot's origin, which I cannot wait. The end of episode 1, we got a preview for the whole season, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I did want to put these two pictures up there first. This is the Wonder Woman connection. And we know that the Amazonians are part of this world already. And also, when they're showing the Bride and Frankenstein, she's running away from Frankenstein through time. When they're showing them in the 70s, you see Shaggy from Scooby-Doo smoking a blunt as they're running past. I thought that was awesome. The internet picked up on that quickly.
And of course, James Gunn wrote Scooby-Doo 1 and 2.
He did, yeah, the movies, the live-action ones. But the thing that everybody's talking about is the preview for the season. We see that Cersei does this kind of spell and shows what could happen in the future. And we get our very first glimpse of Superman
Yeah.
dead on a cross.
Oh, they were not having this one a certain side of the fan base.
I'm sure they were.
I have finally broken, and I have muted and or blocked about 20 accounts the last day and a half. A few I will not because I enjoy their content and they aren't actually toxic, even if they are Snyder fans. And I have had good conversations with them about other things, DC related. But I have muted and blocked a lot of people over the last day and a half, 2 days. It's getting ridiculous out there.
But supposedly this is a future that could be. You see Peacemaker on the bottom there as well, but sets up some big stories.
Everyone that's seen the whole thing is basically like, guys, calm the fuck down. Wait till you actually see
Yeah.
it. Like, that's basically what they're saying. They're like, it's not what you think it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Episode 4, I don't know if you know this, but that is the Weasel episode, which James Gunn
Excellent.
has called one of the most heart-wrenching episodes of television he's ever written. So,
Interesting.
of course, he's been doing all the rounds this week.
Yeah, he has.
He wrote and produced over 650 pages of material in the last 2 years between this, Superman, and Peacemaker, which is, I mean, he's taking a break. He's never, like he said, is never doing that again. But he had to start off the universe.
Yeah.
That man must not have slept at all.
No, he's building a universe. He's got to be right in the forefront of everything.
Yep.
Approving, disapproving. He's got to get it all right in there. So,
yep.
Very excited to see this show go forward. I believe, what is it? 8, 9 episodes, 10 episodes. I can't remember how many.
Only
there are.
seven.
7.
And they're only
Wow.
like 20 something minutes apiece. So like these two
Very
flew
short.
by.
Very
I
short.
wish we just got the whole thing at once, or like maybe like half now and then half at the end of the month, something like that. But yeah, it was a good first couple episodes. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, very good. Another movie I was pleasantly surprised with here. This is the Robert Zemeckis movie. I was getting bashed with the reviews like crazy. Robert Zemeckis reuniting with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright since Forrest Gump back in 1994, 1993.
Yep.
Also bringing in Paul Bettany, who played the Vision, of course, in the Marvel movies. Interesting concept, weak execution at times, is what I wrote down in the notes.
Yes.
However,
it's based on a graphic novel, right?
I did not know that, but that
It's
would
based
make
on a
total
graphic
sense.
novel. Tom Hanks said when he read the graphic novel, he had to read it like 4 times. He didn't know what the fuck was going on.
That would make sense because there are framed scenes throughout where everything kind of changes. If you don't know what this movie is about, it's set in one single room throughout the hour and 40-minute movie. Mm-hmm. And you see the history of time all the way back to when the dinosaurs were killed. You see all the way back to the Indians. At this one little specific spot, you see the house being built around it. You see the colonial period being built around it. You see the 1920s, 1950s, up until 1960s. 1950s is where you meet Tom Hanks' family. Paul Bettany plays his father, and you grow up with him throughout the house. And it also the reason why I'm saying weak execution at times, it zigzags throughout time.
It was
at one point,
a little confusing like the first half,
it
was like and it was also a movie where like if you looked at your phone for 2 seconds and you look back up at the screen, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like I had to hit the rewind button a few times because people were texting me and shit. But towards the end, it kind of gained focus, I think, towards the overall goal.
Very episodic. Every era had its own kind of period of what was going on. Mm-hmm. Different people living in the house. Of course, I mean. If these walls
the lazy boy.
Right. If these walls could talk, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, if these walls could talk, a famous saying that everybody says, basically the history of this house that not everybody knows what has happened, but this is a movie where you can actually see what's happened from the beginning of time to the present time. Also reminded me of Disney's Carousel of Progress. I don't know if you ever remember that ride at Magic Kingdom back in the day, where you see... Throughout time, you see time building, and you see technology building, and you see radios going to TV, at one point they go to the Fire, like the Amazon Echoes and stuff in one of the homes too. So you see the evolution of technology throughout, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
1 minute, like I mentioned, 1 minute you're in the 1960s, the next you're back in colonial, and you're back in the 1920s and back again. It's very, very confusing. For me, I liked it was reminiscent of comics, how they layered the storytelling in these frame scenes. Like they would show the scenes of the 1960s, and there would be one little square panel on the upside that would show the window scene, but you would see what it looked like in the 1920s. You would see or even that going further back in the colonial period. You would see the house across the street, which was like Ben Franklin's son's house. It was a historical museum in the future. But you would see how that was built and how Ben Franklin had ridden carriage there and this and that. Overall, I liked it. I would say 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Just because it was confusing.
Glad I watched it, but yeah.
Glad I watched it, yeah. And I was surprised.
Thing I liked about it is there's one scene, I think it's towards the end, where it goes from like the 50s back into where the Native Americans are there, and they go
Yep.
to bury someone, and then it flashes forward to the last people, the African American family that have the house, and they
Yep.
find the bones in the backyard or whatever, or like the
Yep.
necklace in the backyard. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it's funny, like the whole like these walls could talk. Like I listened to an interview with Robert Zemeckis about this, and one of the people were like, "Oh, I often will drive by my childhood home and like think, oh, you know, what could I like go in and talk to people and see what they did to the house?" And he's basically like, "Do you ever think about that about your childhood home?" And Robert Zemeckis is like, "Nah, I never really cared." It was just funny, like they were trying to get these like they had great questions for him, and he's just like, "Nah, I don't think about that stuff. I don't think about
You don't
movies I've
budge.
already done." Like he finishes a movie and he moves on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I guess because they had the whole thing framed for the entire time, and so whenever they came out and they went past the camera, they had to build the living room on like a stage basically. And so there was like a trench that people had to walk through if they're coming towards the camera. Like every time Tom Hanks' father, who had an alcohol problem, would drink, he had to step like into the trench because he was that close to the camera to keep everything in perspective. So I thought that was a cool little trick they used. But yeah, 3 out of 5. Glad I watched it. I mean, Tom Hanks really never does anything wrong. I like him in pretty much everything except for the way he took on Colonel Parker there in the Elvis movie was a little
That was
odd.
horrible.
But besides that, yeah, Tom Hanks can really do no
One of
wrong.
my-
And same with Zemeckis. I love both those guys.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes from this was towards the end of the movie because you're only focused on this one room and the
Yes.
outside that you see from the window. You see a piano? No, was it an armoire with a mirror? Walk by
Yep.
the frame, and you actually see behind the camera
You see the kitchen.
of the kitchen
Yep.
in the dining room behind them.
Yep.
You see that picture, and then towards the end of the movie, the camera actually shifts at the end of the movie. The last like 10 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, and you see the
actually
whole house.
show
Yep.
the whole house, which is really
Yep.
cool. Yeah, great movie. Another good movie. We Live in Time. This is a new movie starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I think this is based off a book. I'm not 100% sure. It's a drama, romance, comedy mixed all into one. Very sad story. Non-linear love story. The first scene is not the first scene. It's more like in the middle of the story. And we talk about this every once in a while. I mean, of course, Pulp Fiction being the big one.
Yep, I was gonna say Tarantino.
Tarantino, yep. Set over a decade time of their love story, tackling the constraints of time and trying to make time for your loved ones, for life, and sometimes time is taken from you, and that's the big lesson learned from this movie. Great acting, great story. I love the two of them anyway, so seeing them act together was great. 3.5 out of 5 for me. Really good movie.
Nice.
A movie I'm not so high on, and this was a last minute decision last week for our Christmas movie this week.
Yeah.
Black Christmas. This came out in 1974.
I know. Okay, let me just get into this real quick.
Yeah,
I
get
know
into it.
the horror purists tell me this is the great version, and to not listen to the remake, don't watch the remake.
Can I say?
Can I just say watch the remake? It's way better than.
Are you there? You froze. Are you there? There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you're
You
back.
disappeared there for a second. Yep.
One thing I'm going to say, there are tropes in this movie that definitely were influenced on Scream, calls from inside the house, that exact line, the slasher aspect of the movie, everything. Like, this is one of the first, 1974. What was a slasher before this that had come out?
70.
I think you froze again. Are you there?
Maybe Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave might have been before this. It's hard to say.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you're frozen on the screen. That's weird.
Okay.
So yeah, Not a good movie though. Not one of my favorite movies. Not one of my favorite horror movies, Christmas movies, or anything like that.
No, it's not good.
Directed by Bob Clark, who also wrote, directed, and produced the Porky's movie with the Porky's sequel to Porky's 2, Baby Geniuses, and that sequel, Baby Geniuses 2. But his big claim to fame was A Christmas Story, which is going to be his legacy because that movie's played constantly this time of year. Starring the only really known actor in this movie that I recognize was Margot Kidder, of course, Lois Lane in Superman. But other than that, bad movie. I think we're having connection issues. You keep dropping. Are you here? Are you there? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep dropping out. I think we're having connection issues tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. But we'll get through this. But yeah, this movie is not good. 2.5.
Not good. Yeah, 2 for me.
That's
two out of
probably
5.
a 2. Yeah, I was being generous with 2.5. Probably a 2.
Very generous. Yeah, let's try to get through the show. I don't know what's going on, so let's get into the news. It's not a news time about the trailer roundup. Saw a trailer for Snow White, and we forgot to talk about it last week, but this trailer debuted with Wicked. You asked me if I saw it, and I did not see it. It wasn't played locally. It was played throughout the country, though.
Yeah.
But trailer looked pretty good.
Looks fucking awful. What are you talking about? They CGI'd a fucking apple. They CGI'd an apple. The dwarfs look terrible. They cast Gal Gadot as somebody who's supposed to be ugly.
Well, the witch was ugly. The queen was never ugly in the original Snow White. But she was always trying to get retribution for her beauty, and like she was the most beautiful person in the world or in this world. And it was always the mirror saying that it was Snow White. But CGI a little bit too much. Dwarves a little bit too much. Of course, the backlash of this movie is why didn't they hire real little people? That was back when they were doing the casting and doing the original part of this movie. A lot of dwarfs were. I think Peter Dinklage was the one leading that charge. But it looks okay. It's right up there with all those other Disney remakes, live action remakes to me. It looks just like all of those. But that was basically it. Last weekend's box office was huge. I think it was the biggest box office weekend ever. And it was a 5-day weekend for Thanksgiving, of course. But Moana 2 won the box office with 135 million, Wicked 80 million, Gladiator 2 30 million. But for the overall 5-day weekend, Moana 2 made 221 million, Wicked made 117 million. Not too bad for a second weekend. Gladiator 2 took home 44 million, and Red 1 took home another 18 million. So, biggest massive $422 million domestic total over that whole entire weekend, biggest of all time, set a record. Moana 2 grossed over $404 million at the worldwide box office. Only it had a budget of $150 million, so it's already made its money back with that, with the advertising and everything else. Wicked officially became the highest-grossing musical adaptation of all time, surpassing Grease from the 70s. So that's pretty damn cool. The movie's awesome. Gladiator 2 has become the highest-grossing film in Denzel Washington's career. Mm-hmm. So yeah, big huge movie blockbusters out right now. Good time to go to the movies if you haven't been. That's all I'll say about that. Rest in peace to Debbie Nelson, aka Debbie Mathers, the mother of Eminem. We grew up listening to Eminem. I still do. I know you do from time to time. Not as big on him as you were back when we were younger, but big huge part of those first 3 albums, where he dissed her throughout the whole entire, pretty much the whole entire run of the early part of his career. Got sued by her for defamation, but she died of cancer this week. So rest in peace to her. Even though we're not sure what their relationship was. Yeah. I
think it was okay towards the end.
I think it was too.
He had that song on, was it 2 albums ago? Was it the Marshmallows LP2, where he had that song about her?
Yeah.
It seems like they had kind of patched things up as they got older.
Yeah, I think so too. Alexander Skarsgård, who was in True Blood, resurrected his vampire character for What We Do in the Shadows. This just aired last night, so I actually have the picture of him in that episode. I know they've done this before. I believe Wesley Snipes did a cameo too as Blade. But they can't name the character, of course. But of course, they take the aesthetic that they looked like on the show or the movie that they were in. But this is a tongue-in-cheek vampire show, kind of set like The Office in the camera style. It's on FX. Believe they're doing their final season right now, currently, and this aired last night. So, True Blood, good show back in the day. I heard that it ended terribly. I never did finish it.
I did finish it.
You did finish it, yeah.
Years after it went off the air. I think I was up to like season 4, and then I watched the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay.
Not a great ending, but yeah, the first 3 or 4 seasons of that show are very good.
First season's
excellent.
Note to note the same as the book,
except for
from beginning to end.
Except for the guy dying.
Right, Lafayette. Yeah,
the gay dude dies in the book, and they left it as a cliffhanger at the end of season 1, and they brought it back as he was up.
Yep. Bel Air, I know a show that you watched. It's on Mac or on Peacock, right?
Yeah.
It's going to end with season 4. I don't know how far. I don't know how far along you are on that show.
I've still only seen the first season.
Okay. So there's already Netflix is in early talks to develop a new comedy film called Little Brother, starring John Cena and Eric Andre. I don't know your feelings about Eric Andre. Very weird guy.
Yeah.
Film follows a famous real estate agent and his eccentric little brother who unexpectedly reappears. Eric Andre is a very weird niche audience. The Adult Swim audience that had all that weird midnight shit back in 10 years ago, whenever that was huge. He was in one of the last Jackass movies too. He's okay. It's maybe not my cup of tea. A reboot of Scrubs officially happening. It's in early development at ABC from Bill Lawrence. Of course, Bill Lawrence created that show, but he also did Desperate Housewives. Ted Lasso, he's doing Shrinking right now currently. So I'm not surprised. I actually started watching this right during the beginning of the pandemic. I watched part of the first season. It's a decent, funny show. The jokes, you can see them a mile away, set in a hospital. But pretty good. A documentary was announced set for 2025 called Becoming Led Zeppelin. Chronicles the rise of the iconic band. Will be in IMAX theaters, probably released digitally sometime after that. I love Led Zeppelin, so I'm interested for that. I wanted to get your take on this. What your thoughts on Saturday Night Live? Pete Davidson was talking about salaries, and what do you think the salary on Saturday Night Live is per episode for these guys on there?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Can you hear me? Oh yeah, we're having bad connections tonight. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were cut. I couldn't hear. I didn't see you. Were frozen completely. Did you? Where did you hear me talk about Pete Davidson?
Pete Davidson?
Yeah, $3,000 per episode per person. Kind of crazy considering they're on network TV. But Harry Potter, the HBO series, is going to film in summer of next year, 2025. 32,000 kids have been auditioning for the lead roles in Harry Potter, and they're doing like 100 kid auditions a day, trying to find the right kids to play the leads of this show. I'm very excited for it. We'll see. There's some rumors to that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Asa German has been cast in Scream 7. I didn't know who this was, and then I realized he was in Gen V from The Boys.
Yeah.
He was the wacky mutant kind of kid in that.
Yeah.
But he's gonna be in Scream 7.
I wonder if they're gonna bring back Dewey for Scream 7, because I heard it takes place between 4 and 5, so they don't have to worry about the new kids.
Interesting.
They're cast, but that could be just a rumor. But they could always bring back Dewey at that point if that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Got a new poster for 28 Years Later, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ralph Fiennes, and I believe that Cillian Murphy's in this too.
Yeah,
from what I heard, but I'm
Yep.
not sure. Yep, coming out next year. Got a brand new poster for Ballerina. starring Anna de Armas. Got a new picture of her too, filming a scene from the movie. Kind of excited about that. She was good, and she's great, and I think the little scene that we saw her in John Wick was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Walter Goggins shared on Instagram, ghouling up for the Ghoul in Fallout Season 2. Just released a picture of it yesterday, starting filming on that. So excited because the first season was really good. Speaking of series, Wednesday just finished filming, and they showed a picture of Jenna Ortega as Wednesday. Just finished filming, so it'll be coming out sometime next year. Very excited. We only got 1 week left. We'll talk about it in a couple weeks. But Dexter's Original Sin, we got 2 new posters for it. We know the first episode is all about Dexter graduating. So that's an homage to that. Set in 1991. I just noticed that on the placard there on his hat. Where are we at? David Harbour says that there may be a Violent Night 2. We were high on that movie a couple years ago. Came out exactly 2 years ago. Really good. He plays a Santa Claus set more in the mythology of Santa, which is really cool. He says, keep your eyes peeled because I also love that movie, talking about the first one. I think that Universal was excited about that idea as well, so we're working on it a little bit. So that's really cool. I would love to see a sequel of that.
Me too.
One of the CEOs of HBO was talking about Euphoria Season 3, saying it's going to be releasing in 2026. It will be 4 years after Season 2 airs, so there's going to be a big, huge gap between that. But we already know Zendaya's coming back. We know her sister's not coming back. There's going to be a few people, probably new people coming in, but it's going to be set in a whole other time, probably away from school, of course, so we'll see how that turns out. Disney has not been in talks with Johnny Depp to return for Pirates of the Caribbean. However, Jerry Bruckheimer is developing 2 versions of the same script, one without him and one with him if Disney can come up with an idea to reconcile with Johnny Depp. He is such a huge part of those movies.
Yeah.
I cannot see this franchise continuing without him, and I don't think people would want to see a movie without him. Jack Sparrow is an iconic character now in these movies. Saturday night's main event happening sometime next month. Revealed today that Jesse Ventura is going to return to the broadcast table for the first time since the 80s. It comes out December 14th. Oh, it's next week. I didn't know that.
Yep.
It's so early. So very exciting. I know you're a big fan of back early WWF days. Power Rangers. We talked about it before, how the first 2 seasons of Power Rangers, the Red Ranger, the Black Ranger, and the Yellow Ranger, all left the show for salary reasons. They wanted a raise. They went into the table at Saban, Fox, and said, well, Seinfeld made $13 million an episode, and they weren't even half as popular as us. Is what they're saying, that they deserved at least $1 million an episode for Power Rangers. I mean, it was huge back in the day. I understand the frustration. I mean,
but
and not only that, but their likeness,
it was
action figures and merchandise. I know.
Yeah, like it is insane that. Yeah, I mean, makes sense as to why they all left though, except for Tom.
It makes sense. I think the reason why, like, they were just trying to take them over the coals. But they didn't realize the studio did not care about them. They could be recast just as easy as they were cast in that first season, and no one would give a shit. And that's exactly what happened.
They did that like 6 times. They just kept recasting.
And that's how the Japanese show worked, too. Like, every single season of the Japanese Power Rangers was different. Every time a new season started, it was a whole new set of Power Rangers because they didn't want to pay them anymore. Harry Potter, we talked about it earlier. HBO is eyeing Papa, I don't know his last name, to play Severus Snape. I don't know what he's been in.
Apparently he's a really good actor. People are just like, well, he's not going to compare it to what's his name there that did Snape before, and it's
Alan
like,
Rickman.
well, he has to play him completely different, and it's on TV show, so they can handle that definitely too. He doesn't have to compete with Alan Rickman. He just has to be good for whatever product they're bringing to the TV. I mean, yeah.
Well, I put this on here because I wanted to get your reaction, and I wanted to get your vitriol for George R.R. Martin, saying that he does not know if he will ever finish The Winds of Winter. Quote, a lot of people are already writing obituaries for me. They are saying, "Oh, he'll never be finished." Maybe they're right. I don't know. I'm alive right now. What are your thoughts on George R. Martin, Kevin? Let the
Can
audience
we
know.
insert the eye roll rock GIF into this conversation? Yeah. My hope is that he's already written them and doesn't want to deal with the backlash, so they're not going to release till after
Maybe.
he dies. That's my hope. But the dude's 74 at this point, I think. So yeah, people that read the first book when they were in their 30s are now retired from working. So there's that. Just stop talking about it and just either give us something or don't.
Right. Yeah. Dave Filoni confirms that Mandalorian and Grogu has wrapped filming. Currently still scheduled to be in theaters May 22nd of 2026. Every week there's a new popcorn bucket, and this week's no different. Mufasa coming out a couple weeks. We got Pride Rock with Simba, or with Mufasa. And we got the popcorn coming out of the top of Pride Rock. We got some new cups, new popcorn cans, some new pillows. The merch for what they're doing for movies is ridiculous. The other thing I heard this week is that merch is reselling at ridiculous astronomical prices online, Kevin. We should have bought all of that Wicked shit and sold it.
No, here's what we should have bought. We never even talked about it on the podcast, but we should have hunted down the Wicked dolls. I don't think we ever talked about it on the podcast that had Wicked.com on the back of them. Those are what we should have hunted down. Because
at
those
Target.
are going to go for a lot of money. But instead, I just saw the article and laughed about it.
If you don't know, Wicked.com is a porn site from back in the day. And the advertisers for Wicked decided to put Wicked.com on the back of the dolls for the movie of Elphaba and...
The movie's website is wickedthemovie.com.
Not knowing that the porn site was on there.
Yeah.
First look at the real Ghostbusters Funko Pops. I want to get those on there. Looks really cool, right from the 80s. Also, well, let me play this first. The swag sounder.
Swag!
Hold on. We are having problems tonight. What is going on here? Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, we gotta finish this show because I'm getting pissed off at my computer tonight. I'm gonna play the swag sounder again.
Swag! Stuff we all get.
Come on, son. You know that's right.
We got new figures for Captain America: Brave New World. We got the very first look at the leader, Blake Nelson, whatever his name is, playing him. I have this here to show you what you need to have, Kevin. I know you're a chef. I know you cook. A brand new knife coming from Dalstrong. The Batman City Edge. Looks awesome, right? Looks like right out of something you would see in Gotham City. Made of titanium, blah blah blah. How much do you think this knife is going for? Limited to a 485. $600.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Another thing that's $600. This one looks pretty cool though. Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. This is an Iron Studios Deluxe Art scale 1/110. Comes out next year, Q3 2025. $550. Looks really cool. Looks right out of the video game. That is a statue, not a picture. Looks really cool. Also another statue I noticed this week, Captain Planet. This one's only $180, but this is also Iron Studios as well. Don't see a lot of Captain Planets. Don't hear a lot of people talking about Captain Planet, but it was huge for us back in the day. It was all over TV. But $13,000. If you have an extra $13,000 lying around, you can get this Thanos life-size statue replica. Yeah, you want that? Go ahead. $13,000 that'll cost you. And the last thing we're going to talk about are these. The Batman Crocs. If you want to be the cool kid in town with Crocs, but you want them to be shaped like the Batman '89 Batmobile, and then it has the wing on the side too, You can get these currently on sale on the Crocs website. I don't remember the price of it, but Michael Biehn, speaking of Batman, was talking this week about revealing that he was almost cast as Batman in Tim Burton's Batman before Michael Keaton took the role. I remember we always hear about back in the day Michael Keaton. There was backlash because he was a comedy actor,
Mr.
bringing in
Mom.
a comedy, Mr. Mom coming in playing Batman, playing Bruce Wayne. But Michael Biehn was almost cast in the role with him and Robin Williams. We always heard about Robin Williams potentially being the Joker, but he was the one that was actually supposed to be Batman for that. Would have been an interesting movie, interesting concept. 1989. So that's cool. You sent me this. I want to bring it up on the podcast.
Yes.
Batman merch. Brand new Batman merch. We got new logos. We got new silhouettes. Sorry, Superman. I'm so fucked up because of this show today. But yeah, we're right on the edge of getting a new trailer. Right on the we got the DCU started this week, so a lot of talk about this universe going forward. So we're all very excited, hoping for some new news. And James Gunn has said at the middle of everything, it's Clark, Lois, and Lex. It's about these three characters. Talking about a lot of people saying, well, there's a lot of characters. We talked about it. There's a lot of characters in this Superman movie, but he's saying it all boils down to those three, and that's kind of what we figured too.
And also, I picked up Up in the Sky the other day to flip through that again, and the first 3 pages are Batman. There's always characters from the DC universe in Superman comics and vice versa. So I'm not too worried about it. I just want it to be good, very good.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's the quintessential Superman movie going forward.
Robert Pattinson addresses the time between the Batman sequels, joking that I could genuinely be retiring by the end of them because they're taking so long to make. By the time we get to the third one, it'll be 2030 probably.
Probably.
So he's joking, tongue in cheek about that. But Loki actor Jack Veal, who played Kid Loki in the series, the first season, revealed this week that he was homeless. He was getting physical and emotional abuse from his family at home. I believe he's from Britain or Scotland or somewhere over there. But yeah, and I think since this article came out at the beginning of the week, he's gotten some help from their version of child services and stuff. So he went on Twitter or somewhere and talked about it and got help pretty quickly. So that's cool. James Gunn doing a lot of talking this week. Talked about Guardians of the Galaxy and a couple of spin-offs that were planned while he was at Marvel. We're going to do a Legendary Star-Lord project, which may still happen.
Yeah.
Because it was teased at the end of the last Guardians movie.
Yeah.
They were going to do a Ravagers series and a Rocket and Groot project was going to happen as well. All of these were rumors we've always heard about, but he's officially talked about it this week, promoting Creature Commandos when he's been talking about it. Colin Domingo, this is what you mentioned earlier, says that he's in talks to have a role in the MCU. They literally sat down and said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you got for me?" So we're having engagement. The rumor has been all along since what's his name left Kang that he could come in and replace Kang. I think he'd be great for that. He's a very menacing, very loud spoken person, so I think that he would be great taking over the role for Kang the Conqueror if they decide to go that route in one of these Avengers movies. I don't know, but yeah. Fantastic Four had a big, huge, major leak this week. It must have been during Thanksgiving or something, because a couple of kids went on the set of the Fantastic Four that was currently filming last week, and took images of this lair underground in caves that they were filming. You see a futuristic bus in there, you see caves, but the one thing that they did not want shot is this Subterranea, which is the world of Mole Man, which was leaked. So we know now that Mole Man is part of this movie, which we already knew. Probably Paul Walter Hauser is going to be playing him, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Fantastic Four or Marvel did not want this to leak, but it did leak this week. And finally in news, Pedro Pascal at a wrap party for the Fantastic Four First Steps shared this photo on Instagram covering up somebody's face. There is a secret actor, and there's not only this image, there's also an image of somebody being, a video actually, of somebody being dragged behind on set with a complete blanket over their head so nobody could see who was in this. Speculation being Robert Downey coming in to do a cameo as Doom, which would make sense. We've talked about it. He's a big, huge part of the Fantastic Four. We also speculated that Doom could come from this universe. The other speculation, it could be Tom Hiddleston. We're not sure. We're not sure what's going to happen here, but very excited. This movie's supposed to come out in 7 months, 8 months from now.
Yep.
We'll see if this gets delayed or not. But that's it for news. That's it for our janky show this week. Next week we'll talk about Shrinking, Dune Prophecy. If you want to keep continuing that, we will continue talking about Skeleton Crew, Creature Commandos, Secret Level. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it after the reviews this week. We got a Christmas movie we'll decide off pod. Next Friday, Kraven the Hunter. War of Rohirrim, the Lord of the Rings animated movie, comes out. And next Friday, Elton John Never Too Late documentary comes out on Disney Plus. That night, which we'll talk about the week after, Dexter or Original Sin comes out. We'll talk all about that. So that's it for the show this week. Thanks everybody for dealing with our problems on the show. And we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blur. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest scoop and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain.